Hi, and welcome to this AI into Sharp video on the Microsoft Agent Framework. And we have some news in that we are finally reached the release candidate 1 of the Agent Framework, meaning that we are over the humps with how features should be built. Now we are going into a phase where there should be less breaking changes, and there should be the way that the Agent Framework team feels like this is what they want to deliver as their final product. And we'll go into timeline in 1 second. Because we have come a long way, Agent Framework came about around Build 2025, where there were some rumors that the semantic kernel team and Autogen would merge and build a new framework. I have had previous videos where I said it was the best thing they could do, get rid of the legacy of semantic kernel. But it was only until October 2025 that we actually got the preview and the first bits. And now we have been here for 4 months, testing out, getting new releases and so on. And as of yesterday of this recording, the 20th of February, we got the release candidate. And now we are entering what the team says for 4 to 6 weeks of final testing before we hit roughly end of March and general availability, pending schedule, of course, and how it goes. The overall experience for me has actually been really good, but I have also been a bit surprised of how many breaking changes there were in the process. I was not part of the preview of semantic kernel. It might have been the same there. It's all for the better, but I had just underestimated how many breaking changes we would get. Some of them were easy, some of them were really hard, especially here at the end. I have a slide on that as well. But now we are in a phase where this is actually how the team feels this should look like. There could come some serious issues, news from the LLM world and so on that can change things. But it's not really in the cards that that happens. And then end of March, we should go in and get a version 1.0 where we are enterprise ready and things need to become backward compatible. And I know many of you are waiting for that specific part as well. So let's go in and talk a little about the release candidate, because it's actually not everything that are in release candidate. It's only some of the packages, meaning there's 25 packages in total, and it's only 11 of them that are going into RC right now. These are the core packages around workflows, OpenAI, Azure, and so on. All the things that made sense to go workflow, while there's a lot of others that are not and will still be in preview even after end of March. And the main reason for that is a very good one, in that the team says they can't really support a 1.0 where they have a dependency on something that are in preview by itself. So a good example is the A2A protocol. That is not finalized yet, so they can't really go in and say we have a 1.0, we're not gonna change things if the underlying protocol will change. So things like A2A is still here, the persistence, the ADUI, the Copilot, and so on. Slowly, these will graduate into becoming release candidates themselves, and then final releases as the underlying platforms stabilizes. If you have been around for semantic kernel, this is absolutely nothing new. There we also slowly got more and more packages in. But now we have the real core structure of the tool. These are more the integrations and third-party parts, which makes sense. But just be aware of it that if you are, for example, depending on A2A and want to go in an enterprise setting, you will still actually have pre-releases end of March. So what have changed between then and now? It's still a little difficult for me to show you every single little thing, and it might not be something you want to check out if you haven't followed along until now. Now is the right time to begin to use Agent Framework if you haven't, because now we are in this no more breaking changes state, which is good. But just some highlights on what have actually changed. One of the more significant new features that have come along since October is that there's a much better structured output support. In the beginning, we needed to do a bunch of cumbersome work in order to do it, but me and others convinced the team that we should use the same format as the Microsoft extensions AI, and we got it halfway. We got it with the chat client agents, but now we're also getting them everywhere on the AI agents as well. So this is really, really good. Structured output is one of my most used features. And because of this, I will re-record a new video about this. There's an asterisk, as you can see, and that's because there is a bug right now in RC where a special scenario with AI agents together with tool call middleware fails. I see it just as a bug that needs to be ironed out, and then we have it. So the principles on where we have run async of T and it being everywhere is in the protocol now, and that is really, really good. There's been some significant renames as well. Mostly when we create the AI agents, it was previously called Create AI Agent. Now it's As AI Agent. Our agent run response is Agent Response now. Our agent threads is become an agent session. And the two providers of context and chat history has been renamed, and we have actually also in the latest release here gotten that we can have multiple AI context providers, which is really cool as well. User interaction requests in the response object has now been removed. You can still get them from the individual messages, but it's been taken away. It was a kind of funky system anyway, so that doesn't matter. So this is not a big problem that things rename. But there has been some significant breaking changes. There has been that the agent session is in a completely different way now. It's not too much, but it's still enough that I want to re-record a new video about conversations and that part. AI content providers is completely rewritten. You can sort of use 60 to 70% of your code if you have implemented one before, but there's new concepts on them, so I will definitely re-record a video on that as well. And the chat history provider in the same manner has also gotten a new but also better way of working, better method names that was easy to understand now at least. But I will make a recording of that. Workflows has also gotten some significant updates, but if you have seen my videos in the past, you know that I'm not really keen on the workflow part. I don't see it as a big value, so I'm probably not going to re-record. The samples in my sample repo has been updated as much as possible. There's a few bugs in the RC around workflows right now, and I will keep them up to date, but I will not spend the time on making dedicated videos about it. So this is what we have. Again, my my repo of samples that you can get on GitHub is all up to date now on RC1. The only one that's not working is the human in the loop because it has a bug. Rest has been updated, so it's easy for you to try them out. And again, there will become special videos on some of the topics. So given that we are in this state, I wanted to give a little review of how I feel the agent framework feels to work with, and what strong sides it have, and what is more weak that I hope either the framework team will fix at some point, or that is also where I have put in my effort in. I have a set of NuGet packages called Agent Framework Toolkit that I try to get rid of some of the drawbacks that are on the agent framework and get it up to an even higher score than what I'm about to give it here. But I will give some context when we go through. Because first up is provider support, which it will actually get a 5 out of 5. Top notch that it can connect to almost everything in this world as long as it has an iChat client. That's kudos to the Microsoft Extension AI team, of course, but being able to connect to everything is so nice. Semantic kernel, the previous thing, had problems running. Certain providers like Google and Anthropic, no problem at all here now. The normal calls, streaming, again, top score. It just works. It's very, very concise way of working compared to semantic kernel, for example, and also extensions AI. So I just like the way everything flows in that part. Tool calling is also top notch, support everything, agent skills, MCP, everything is easy to set up and it just works. So really good support there as well. The structured output support is also really nice now. Had I given this score 2 days ago, it would probably have been a 3 because it didn't support the AI agents, but now it does. So full score for that. Response output is good, fairly easy to understand, but I find it a little poor to discover where a certain kind of message comes back with reasoning, text, and all these other things, getting file IDs from code interpreters and so on. It's a little clunky. I understand why, because it needs to be work across everything. But there could have been some helper methods or some extension methods, and that's what I'm putting into my agent framework toolkit to make this easier. Then we have the conversation part, the chat history part. It works, but it is very, very difficult to understand, in my opinion. For example, you have a chat history. Why can't I just get my messages out of that chat history? You need to do all kinds of hoops in order to do that. I hope at some point it will be extended. It can definitely be extended after RC1, that it will become a little more easy. And if not, I will add some discoverability to it by my agent framework toolkit. Then we have the way to provide settings. This is one of the things that gets the lowest score. It's not really the agent framework's fault, but things like setting reasoning effort, providing special settings for OpenAI or Anthropic or any of them is very, very cumbersome. It's called breaking glass when you need to figure out how to do it. And it is very, very poor discoverability on how to do it. I have made it much easier in Agent Framework Toolkit, where I actually go in and take responsibility of saying, okay, you want to use OpenAI, here's all the settings OpenAI can do. You want to use Anthropic, here's all the settings Anthropic can do, and so on. Could have been nice, more of an effort for the team, and they are completely correct in that reasoning effort is a wild west out there right now. Nobody does it the same way, and they're essentially just waiting for a standard to be formed around reasoning. And if that happens, I think they will improve it. But until then, it's actually really, really annoying, and that's the reason for the low score. AI context providers, I will give a full score. I was a bit frustrated yesterday when I needed to upgrade from all the previous one I had. But now that I have tried the new setup, I really, really like it. It's much, much easier to understand. Before it was something called invoking and invoked, and was that one before and that one after, and so on. You needed to read the documentation. Now it's just providing and storing, and it's easy to understand. So really, really top notch on that, despite the hard effort to get there to the right place in the process. Chat history provider, same deal. Very, very confusing yesterday when upgrading, but once I got the hang of understanding it, it feels much better now than what it did in the past, and there are really good features for memory, tool call injection, on the fly, storing history, and so on. It just feels nice, the new way. Microsoft Foundry support, I'm giving it 3. It's not really Agent Framework's fault, but more Microsoft Foundry itself, that they are so far behind in support of almost everything. Everything is broken up there. So you can still use Microsoft Foundry with direct models or persistent models. So if I'm giving for the direct models, it's 5 out of 5. They just work, but the rest is a big pile of mess, to be honest. And again, it's not the Agent Framework team's fault. That is the Microsoft Foundry's team's fault that they cannot provide something. But again, they are in preview, so they are not really on the spot here. But I wanted to take it along because everyone asked me about this one. Then we have the workflows, which I will give the lowest score of them all, 2 out of 5. I have a dedicated video on why I don't like the framework workflows. It's not like they don't work. You just write so much more code with so little less flexibility than just proper C# code. There might be some enterprise settings that I don't need, and if I needed those, I would give it a higher score perhaps. But I just find it too cumbersome for what it actually brings. And again, I have a dedicated video that it shows with examples why I mean that. And then there's other integrations. There's A2A, ADUI, and so on. Overall, it's really, really cool to see the team being so agile in supporting things that are brand new. ADUI is a bit rough and written in an odd way, but beyond that, it's really, really cool to see all the integrations. So it really gives comfort knowing that whenever something new comes in the AI space, this team is really, really keen and able to make it possible to have integrations with the Agent Framework. And finally, sample and documentations. Not a 5 out of 5, mostly because some of the samples are really hard to understand. One of the reasons I even have this YouTube channel, trying to give better and more real life samples. But they are there. They have helped me for all my research. Some of them are often wrong, not in the code base, but on the Microsoft Learn side. It's often, if you copy paste that code that is up there, it will not even run. And that's, of course, difficult to keep up with, but I can't give it a 5 out of 5 because of that. So that is my review. You can see I'm giving pretty high scores, and where stars are missing here, I have used my own NuGet package on top to make it much easier. So the response output is much easier with some extension methods, easy to do. Conversations I will definitely do something once it's stabilized a little more than all the changes happening since yesterday. Providing settings is way better, in my opinion, in my system. Workflows I don't do anything with, and the support down here. But the rest is just top notch in this, and I'm really keen on getting everyone on this tool compared to semantic kernel, which feels very, very old to me now when I see semantic kernel code compared to this now. But that's everything. Let's see what happens during the next 4 to 6 weeks. If there is breaking changes, we will, of course, do something about that. But else, we can slowly begin to actually get ready to go live with all this even in enterprise settings. So with that, see you in the next one.